So another Star Wars film that may divide the fan base. Great. And with that, I'm welcome to another episode of the Romancer. My goal, as always, is super handsome movie watching experience. So Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, we have the third of this new trilogy, ending not only this trilogy, to be honest with you, but this is the finale of a saga spanning 40 years and the majority of my life, a series, a movie franchise that I've loved and grew up with and have a very special place in my heart. So it's kind of bittersweet to see, have this finally end. I can only hope that they could really stick the landing. And I know there's a daunting task here for J.J. Abrams, who comes back to direct from the very first film, Force Awakens, from this trilogy. And, it's not easy to always stick the landing and to really satisfy all the fans, particularly coming off the heels of The Last Jedi, which really divided fans immensely, and which I liked a lot, actually. And so, I was hoping that he could really kind of nail it, but at the same time, I knew it was going to be very, very difficult, and that's exactly what it proved to be. Now, overall, I'll say this. This is a movie I wanted to love, I was prepared to love, but I didn't. It's just, this is an entertaining hot mess is what this is. And this, by saying that, I mean, there's a lot of things that I loved about this film, and I'll get into that. There's a lot of things that really bothered me, I didn't really like. And I'll start with things I didn't like first to kind of get that out of the way here. Because by no means I'm saying this is a terrible movie. It's just very, for me, kind of middle of the road. I'm still kind of processing everything. I came out of seeing it. I'm going to watch it again. Maybe I'll change my mind in a couple of days. But I'll say this, that the biggest problem this movie has is what I suspected it was going to have. And that really came from the story here. And they cram so much in here. This is so much of, round pegs and square holes and all that, trying to squeeze in so much information. And it seems like Abrams was trying to make up for what happened in The Last Jedi. And I felt this trilogy would have been better served if he would have just picked off on what that movie gave us and give us something that the fans wanted based off that, as opposed to trying to retcon everything or make changes or ignore things that was brought up in the last movie. And that being said, he had to introduce some things, and he throws a lot of stuff at you, a lot of exposition, a lot of story points, and things that occur. This is spoiler free, so it's hard to talk about, but a lot of things in there are just so much, and there's not enough time to really process anything, and not everything is earned here in terms of the reveals and what have you. And some of the choices he makes, I thought were okay. Some of the choices I just downright just loathed. I didn't like at all some of the decisions he made in terms of the story. And his movie, and I'll give you this, movie is very well paced, it's very fast moving, and that's great. But it's a disservice to the story because there's so much information. We have time to really sit back and really let that story kind of develop naturally, organically, as opposed to just feeding us all the stuff that's going on and letting us just go from scene to scene until we finally get to the end. And that's an issue, and that's unfortunate. You can tell Abrams is just trying to do his best to make up for what he thought we wanted to see as far as the fans is, and he should just focus on making one movie. And I really wish he just would have made this, he would have handled the entire trilogy alone. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, so this is exactly what we get. Now, all that being said, and like I said, there's things that I did love about this film. The score, obviously, John Williams, that guy's a master, of course. We know a lot of familiar themes with Star Wars, which, spark up that nostalgia. You're going to love it, of course. It looks beautiful, very well shot, great scenes in there, great set pieces. The action is really cool. And there's a lot of it, which is great. Like I said, it's a very easy movie to watch. It's 2.5 hours, more or less. It didn't feel that long. That's a good thing. Unfortunately, there's so much information that you don't get, you miss a lot. But at least the action keeps you entertained throughout. And there's a lot to see, a lot of great visuals, cool lightsaber fights, space battles. That's what Star Wars is ultimately at the end of the day, and I get that. As a kid, that's what we fell in love with, the lightsabers, the flying around, the cool characters. And we get a lot of that. There's a lot of good humor in here too. It's actually a pretty funny movie, and the humor does work for the most part. There's a couple of things that didn't hit, but that's fine. That's typical for any movie. But it's good humor, and that felt well. The characters were well done. Again, decisions about some of these characters and choices that they made, I didn't like. But that being said, it was still very entertaining, and it kind of wrapped up fairly well at the end. I kind of like pretty much where it ended off for the most part. I just wish they would have made some different choices. So in all, I kind of, this is like broccoli, celery, where by itself it doesn't really taste good at all, if anything. And we have all this other stuff. They put this melted cheese or blue cheese on the celery stick, on the broccoli, and it tastes a whole lot better. It's a whole new world. But ultimately, it's just sauce. Deep down, the core of this movie is not good. But they put a lot of cool stuff and a lot of cool visuals and cool action, and kind of make you forget what you're actually eating. And it seems like it tastes great. But ultimately, as a film, it's messy. The story's not told very well. It's a very bad narrative. But again, the Star Wars fan, a Star Wars fan is still entertained by him. So I still was vested in what was going on. Although the stakes, I didn't feel the stakes in this movie as much because the story didn't really service the action or vice versa because there's so much going on, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, I think if you're deep into the Star Wars lore and it's so vested in it and it bothers you when a Star Wars movie is not as good as what you want it to be, you're probably gonna hate this movie. Like it to varying degrees. If you're a casual fan, you go watch them, they entertain you, move on, doesn't bother you as bad or good, it's just a film. You grow up with like me and just want to see them and have a good time. I think that crowd is really going to enjoy the film. A lot of crowd pleasing moments, cool action, and again, it wraps up fairly well. And if you're not invested in the story as much, you don't really care about that as much, you're going to be entertained. I mean, I'm not saying that's across the board, that's the way it's going to be. But talking to some people after the movie, I got that kind of vibe. Those who are diehard fans, those who really like Last Jedi, they didn't quite find this one as enjoyable, and vice versa. Those who didn't like Last Jedi now like this one more. And ultimately, for me, I fell right in the middle. I didn't hate this movie. I didn't love this movie. It's fine. It's entertaining. And J.J. Abrams, he's safe, doesn't take many risks, it's very status quo a lot, and that's exactly what we got in this one. I wanted something a little more challenging, particularly with the last installment of this series, of this saga, and ultimately it was just a good piece, it's entertaining, that I'm probably gonna forget about in a few weeks. And again, maybe I change my tune when I see it in a couple of days, maybe I won't, but for now, this is how I feel. Ultimately, do I recommend this movie? Yeah. I mean, you're gonna watch it no matter what. You should watch it if you had intentions to watching it. And you decide for yourself whether a lot of the story beats really bother you, or you just want to check out the action and have a good time. From that standpoint, I think you will. So, Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, you guys check it out. Comment below, let me know what you guys thought. And of course, if you haven't done so already, subscribe below and feed money to go to the movies and talk about it afterwards. See you guys next time.